odour of nuts in food. But to find out how Nano's nose works to smell nuts, I think we need to take a closer look. Dogs' noses work differently from humans. We breathe straight in and out. But when a dog smells, he wiggles his nostrils to open and close slits at the side of his nose. This causes air to swirl around the nostrils, which pulls more odour into the nose. This means a dog is sniffing in air and odours all the time. When a dog breathes in air through its nose, it goes in two different directions. Some of the air is sent to the lungs for breathing, and some is sent to a special part used for smelling, called the olfactory. Inside the olfactory are 300 million sensor cells. If the olfactory cells in Nano's nose find a nut odour in the air, they send a message to Nano's brain. So he alerts the owner that there are nuts in the food or nearby, so that the owner doesn't eat them and stay safe. How clever is that? To find out how Nano has been trained to use his nose, I've come to a special training centre. And it takes just over a year to train a dog to use its nose and alert its owner. This is the biodetection room, and it's where we can test to find out if Nano's nose is working to sniff out the smell of a peanut. And inside, we have 5 silver pots, and hidden underneath each one is a different thing. This one has a tea bag underneath. Here we have a tennis ball, a kiwi. This one is empty. And this one has peanuts underneath. Yasmin is going to ask Nano to sniff each of the pots, and let's see if he can find the one with peanuts underneath. Nano has been taught to tap the top of the pot he thinks has the nuts in. He's also been trained to wear a harness for my special camera, so we can see what he sees. I think we're ready, don't you? Let's go. Can you remember which pot had the nuts in? Let's see if Nano can sniff it out. He's having a good sniff. No taps yet. Where are those nuts? Can you see? He's tapping the top of the silver pot at the end. Do you think that's the one with peanuts in? Should we check he got it right? Yeah, first time. That is one clever dog with a very clever nose. But this was a smell test in an empty room. How does Nano help his owner Yasmin in everyday life? Let's try a test outside, where there are lots more smells all around. I'm setting up 2 picnic areas. The first one doesn't have any nuts in, but in the second, I'm going to place a peanut butter sandwich. Let's see if Nano can smell the peanut butter sandwich. Because this is a test, and we don't want Nano to get any peanut butter on him, I'm covering it with a plate. Here comes Nano. No nuts there. Good boy. They're going over to the picnic with the peanut butter sandwich. What do you think Nano's going to do? Good boy. That's right. Nano is tapping the chair with the peanut butter sandwich on. He's found it. What a clever dog. Good boy. I loved finding out how Nano's nose works. What was your favourite part? Do you remember what the nut smell is called? That's right, it's the nut odour. Did you hear the sound of Nano's paws tapping at the pot to show us the peanuts were inside? Good boy. And did you see how Nano detected the peanut butter sandwich outside? Good boy. Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this. When to stop and when it's safe to go. Do you know what colour means stop? That's right, it's red. Can you see? The traffic light is red now. But what do you think happens next? It's changing same colour.
Look, the traffic light turned green, and green means that it's safe to go. And there, off goes the traffic. But did you notice another colour?
That's right. In between the red and the green, there's an amber light. The amber light tells you to get ready to stop or get ready to go.
So how do the traffic lights change to keep the traffic flowing so that all the cars can get to where they're going? Come with me.
This is a traffic control centre, and it's where traffic lights are controlled and monitored in a city centre.
Look at all of these screens showing roads and traffic lights and junctions. It's so busy, and there are so many roads. Traffic lights are controlled by computers, and the computer tells each traffic light how long it needs to be red, when to change to amber, and how long it needs to be green. It's called the traffic lights cycle. But what is a traffic light cycle, and how does it work? I think we need to take a closer look.
At a junction, there is a set of traffic lights for each road. The roads coming from the left and right see a red light, so they have to wait. Traffic coming from the top and bottom roads see a green light at the same time. That means it's safe for them to go. The traffic can go straight ahead or turn left. It can also turn right, but it has to wait until the traffic coming in the opposite direction has passed and it's safe to turn. Next, the lights on the roads going from the top to bottom turn amber, then red to make the traffic stop. Then the cars travelling on the road going across see red and amber, then turn to green, so it's their turn to go. They can now drive straight on, go left, or wait to turn right. And the whole cycle starts again to keep the traffic flowing nicely all day long.
Wow, it's really clever, isn't it?
Shall we see how a junction works from up high?
I've got my special steady camera, and a steady camera means that the picture will be smooth and steady even when I put the camera high in the air. Oh, that is so high! Look at the junction all the way down there. Can you see the traffic moving up and down the road? That's because their traffic light is on green. Ah, now look. The traffic going up and down has now stopped because their traffic light has turned red. So now it's the turn of the traffic going across the junction. That means their light has turned from red to red and amber and then green. Away they go. That was brilliant. Now, let's have a go at driving through the junction.
First, I'm going to drive straight on across the junction. I've put a special camera on the front of the car so we can see more clearly.
The lights have turned red, which means we need to stop.
And now the lights are green, which means I can go ahead safely. This time, I'm going to turn left at the junction. The light is green, so I can go.
Okay, last go. Let's make a right turn.
Remember, before turning right, I have to wait until there's no traffic coming from the opposite direction.
Seeing how traffic lights work was really fun, wasn't it? What was your favourite part?
Do you remember what the place is called where two roads meet? That's right, it's called a junction. Did you hear the sound of all the traffic at the junction? And did you see the amber light as the traffic lights changed from green to red?
Arrived safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this.
Is to make a model of this 3D picture.
And the prosthetic leg we're making today is going to fit just below the knee, and then there'll be a shin and a foot at the bottom.
The model will be made from one of these foam blocks. It's Adam's job to set the block ready for cutting in a machine called a 3D carver.
But it can take quite a long time, so I'm going to use my special time-lapse camera. A time-lapse means that we can film something at a normal speed, but when we watch it back, we see it happen much more quickly.
Look! Can you see the model being cut out on my time-lapse camera?
It's really beginning to take shape, isn't it? That was incredible. The block is now the perfect model of the 3D picture that we saw earlier.
So Adam can now build the new prosthetic leg to fit that model.
The next part that Adam's making is called the liner, and the liner will fit over the person's legs, so it has to be nice and comfortable.
So it's made from this spongy foam, which Adam cuts, glues and shapes around the model on a machine called a vacuum former. And the vacuum former is sucking the foam towards the model, making it a perfect fit.
The next part to make is called the socket.
This is a hard shell, which is formed from 3 different materials: nylon, glass fibre and carbon fibre.
These are really, really strong. Before finishing the layers, Adam is going to put this metal part at the end of the leg, and it's called a claw. And this is where the shin and the foot will be attached later.
A final layer of nylon covers it all up.
All these materials are soft, aren't they? And we need the socket to be hard and strong. So to do that, Adam's going to cover it with a liquid called resin. Look, the resin is green.
And Adam pours the resin in through a bag.
It's like squeezing paint out of a tube. It looks brilliant, doesn't it? The resin is running underneath the bag, and it's mixing with the layers of nylon, glass fibre and carbon fibre. Once it's finished, the resin will be left to dry till it goes nice and hard.
An hour later, and the socket is ready.
The rest of the parts we need for our prosthetic leg are kept here in this storeroom, and here we are. This is the foot, and then this metal pole is going to be the shin. That's this part of the leg just here. Here we are. But first, Adam needs to cut the shin tube so the prosthetic leg can be the right length. And for that, he's using a saw. There it goes.
The shin tube is then fixed to the finished socket. And look, there's the liner going in too.
And here we have a finished prosthetic leg. Doesn't it look great? I really enjoyed learning about prosthetic legs and seeing how they were made. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember the name of the picture that was used to make the prosthetic leg? That's right, it's called a 3D picture. Did you hear the sound the saw made when Adam cut the metal shin tube to the right length? And did you see how the liquid resin soaked into the socket to make it hard and strong?
There are lots of clever ways that our bodies work. Did you know that we have 5 senses to help us explore the world around us? We can see things, we can hear things, we can touch things to see if they're rough or smooth, we can taste things with our taste buds, and we can smell things all around us, even our safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this. There are 3 main parts needed to make the frames. These round parts here are called the rim, and they hold the glass lens in place. And then these long sticks are called the temple because they run along the temple on your head. And then this middle bit is called the bridge because it sits a little bit like a bridge on your nose, and that holds the two rims together.
It's Chandrika's job to put the temples together.
First, the gold coil is cut to the right lengths to make all of our pieces, and she does that using a cutting machine.
The pieces are then put into a machine called a knuckle stamper.
It pushes down and to the side at the end of that piece of metal at the same time to create a little bump like this. Next, it's put inside this machine called a shin press, which squashes that knuckle so that it's smooth and flat. What do you think it sounds like? I think it sounds a bit like a train. Now it's time to make the part that goes over your nose, the bridge. They start out like this, as a straight piece of wire, and goes into this machine for the first bending. Here you go.
In all, it takes 14 machines to bend the coil into exactly the right bridge shape. That's a lot of bending.
And there you have it, a finished bridge. To make the rims, Ray feeds some more gold coil into this machine. It's called a rim winder.
The gold coil is held in place in the machine, ready to be shaped.
What shape do you think the rims are going to be? That's right, it's a circle.
Now we've got all the parts we need to make our frames, but we need to put them all together.
And for that we need something called a hinge.
A hinge is a small joining part, and it's made by cutting the gold coil and putting tiny holes in it. The hinges are attached to the rims using something called soldering. This is where two pieces of metal are stuck together by melting another tiny piece of metal in between, just like glue. The hinged rims are then attached to the bridge, this time by making both pieces of metal really hot, so they melt and join together. This is called welding.
For the first time, they're starting to look like frames, aren't they? But these aren't going to stay on very well. That's because they need the temples.
The temples will be attached with screws, very tiny ones.
These ones are smaller than an ant. So I've got my special camera with me. This is a microscope and it helps us to see very small things much bigger. Let's take a look. Wow, look at that. It is absolutely tiny. But now we can see all of the little grooves, and those are the bits that will screw into the parts so they stay together.
After they've been screwed into place, look on my special camera. Can you see the screw on the frame?
And look, that's the screw that's holding all the parts together. Oh, these look bright and shiny, don't they? But they do need some finishing touches.
For the last stage, Chandrika puts on some plastic tips which are bent so they can hook around your ears, and some plastic pads for your nose.
And ta-da! The frames are ready. But these ones are empty. That's because they need to get sent to the opticians who will fit the special lenses that will help your eyes so you can see things more clearly. These are really comfortable and I think they look pretty good too. What was your favourite bit about seeing how frames are made?
Do you remember the name of the part of the frame that sits over your nose? That's right, it's the bridge. Did you hear the sound the shin press made? A bit like a train. And did you see how quickly the metal coil was bent to make the rims?
Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this
And this is where all of the ingredients go. Wow! Can you see those curved metal blades? Well, those are going to spin round and round to mix all of the ingredients together. There's already some water inside, and the first thing we're going to add is some salt. Whoosh! Can you see the blades mixing the salt with the water? The next ingredient to get added to the mixer is a chemical with a really long name, sodium lauryl sulfate, and it's what makes the soap bubbles when we use it. But there's so much of it, it has to get pumped into the mixer through a big tube. Now Ian is measuring out the next ingredient, called glycerin. Can you see how shiny and gloopy it is? This is what makes the hand wash slippery. The glycerin is poured into the mixture too. Now, most hand washes have a nice smell, so that when we use them, our hands smell nice. And this smell comes from this ingredient. It's a type of perfume, just like the perfume you might have smelt someone wearing. But shall we see what this one smells like? Okay. Wow. Oh, it smells like flowers, it's sweet and very, very strong. So, in goes the perfume. The mix is nearly ready. There's just one more extra special ingredient to add, and it comes from a plant. It's called an aloe plant. Now, you mustn't do this at home, but would you like to see inside the leaf? Here we go. Can you see that sticky material? It's called aloe vera, and that's what helps to soothe our skin. The aloe vera is measured and poured into the mixture. Hand wash comes in lots of different colours, and to do this, a colouring is added. It's a bit like adding colour to icing on a cake. At the moment, it looks really dark, so it's hard to see what colour it is. But what colour do you think it's going to be? Let's find out. I've got my special camera with me so we can see what's happening inside the mixer. First, Stephen's going to turn it on. We're ready. Here it goes. Can you see what colour it is? That's right, it's blue. Whoa, look at that. Some of the mixture is sucked out of the bottom and pumped back in the top through this tube, and that helps to give it an extra good mix. Can you see all of the bubbles? That's the sodium lauryl sulfate working. Now we have to leave it for 5 minutes. It's a bit like cooking porridge in a big pot. The hand wash is mixed until all the ingredients are blended together. Now the hand wash is being tested, shall we see what it feels like? It wobbles like jelly, and the glycerin and the sodium lauryl sulfate make it all slippy. And it smells lovely and fresh too, and that's because of the perfume that was added. Oh. But how does all the hand wash end up in these tiny bottles? Well, first, the mixture is pumped from this blue drum into this little tank called a header tank. The header tank feeds the machine that fills the empty bottles with hand wash. It's really big and it can fill up to 8 bottles at a time. And those empty bottles get lined up and go into the machine just here. It's about to start. The machine knows just the right amount of hand wash to squirt into each bottle. Did you hear that sound? And then the bottle started to fill with hand wash. That was so quick I nearly missed it. Let's count to see how long it takes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds and the bottles are full. The filled bottles are almost ready to be sent to the shop, but there is something missing. Can you guess what it is? That's right, there's no bottle top yet. The full bottles travel down the conveyor belt to the topping station, where the technicians put the bottle tops on by hand. Last thing to do is run the bottles through the labelling machine to stick a label on them so we know what's inside. And here we have a bottle of hand wash ready to use. I love seeing how hand wash is made. What was your favourite bit?
Do you remember what the super special ingredient was? That's right, it was the plant aloe vera. Did you hear the sound the bottling machine made? And did you see my special camera when we looked inside the mixing pot? We got to see the blades stirring in the colour. Arrived safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this, where they're kept
In this massive storeroom.
So, what do we need? We need lots of little lights called LED lights. And these do all of the flashing. And then we need a circuit board. And a circuit board controls when and how often the lights flash. And to connect the lights to the circuit board, we need lots of colourful cables. And then we're going to need some of these. These are called lenses. They act a little bit like a lid for the lights. And finally, to put everything together, we need lots and lots of screws. First, the base is cut out from a sheet of metal called aluminium. This is then put with all of the parts onto a mini train until it reaches the workstation. And this is where the emergency warning light is put together. And this is Mick. He's going to be making one for us today. First, Mick gets the base ready and starts to assemble the parts. Next, Mick screws all of the LED flashing lights into the right place using something called a pneumatic screwdriver. Can you hear the sound of the pneumatic screwdriver? What do you think it sounds like? I think it sounds angry. It's time for Mick to wire all the LED lights, but there is a lot of wiring to be done and it can take a long time. So I'm going to use my special camera to film something called a time lapse. And that means when we watch this back, we can see things happening a lot quicker. There are 15 different cables to put in. I think they look a bit like colourful spaghetti. Wasn't that brilliant? Now all the cables are in place, it's time to plug in the circuit boards. A circuit board is like a mini computer and it sends a message to the LED lights to tell them when to flash. And they're connected by these wires. Mick has given me special permission to help him plug one of the wires in. We're nearly finished. Just need to put the lenses on the top, like a lid. The last workstation is really important because it's where the emergency warning lights are tested to make sure they're working properly. Ready, Mick? Here we go. Look, they're working. Oh, they look great, don't they? What colours can you see? There's blue, red, and white. Thank you. Right, let's get this fixed onto the top of our police car. The lights have to be screwed in place and then wired into the police car's electrics. In total, it takes about 7 hours. And there you have it, a finished police car with brand new emergency warning lights. And I've got special permission to switch them on. Wow, looks like everything's working properly. Don't they look brilliant?
I loved seeing how emergency warning lights are made from all those small parts. What was your favourite bit?
Can you remember the name of the mini computer that controls the flashing lights? That's right, it's called a circuit board. Did you hear the buzzing sound the pneumatic screwdriver made? And did you see what colours the emergency lights were? They were blue, red,
Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this.
crew find and rescue people quickly.
This is a chart plotter. It's a map of the river. And if you look here, you can see our position just there. And this is a compass. A compass shows the lifeboat which direction they're travelling in. North, south, east or west. Sometimes it can be tricky for the lifeboat crew to spot people in the water, especially if it's at night. So they use a special camera to help them. It sits right up here at the back of the boat. It's called a thermal imaging camera. But how does a thermal imaging camera work? I think we need to take a closer look.
When the lifeboat is sent out on a rescue mission, the thermal imaging camera is switched on. The camera measures thermal energy. That's either how hot, like our bodies, or cold, like the sea something is. It can see the thermal energy during the daytime and at night. The camera can be moved up and down, left and right, using a lever called a joystick. The picture from the camera is seen on a screen on board the boat. The hotter something is, the more heat or thermal energy it gives off. Our bodies are warm and give off lots of heat, and the camera will show this as a whitish grey colour. The river water is cold. This camera shows cold as red. So if a person is in trouble in the water, they can be spotted on the thermal camera, and the lifeboat crew can rescue them.
Well, today, the lifeboat crew are doing a practice rescue, and they've given me permission to go with them. But to do that, I have to wear the right safety equipment. Because today is a practice rescue, Paul, one of the lifeboat crew members, is going to go in the water. And he's trained to do this. But so that we can see what the rescue looks like from the water, I'm going to put my special camera onto Paul's helmet.
If this was a real rescue, the team would get a message from the Coast Guard and quickly get the boat out to sea. It's pushed into the water by a tractor until the water is deep enough to float in.
We're on our way to go and find Paul. He's out there somewhere.
Look, there's Paul. Can you see him on my special camera? Let's see how quickly the lifeboat crew can find him.
Ian's using the chart plotter and the compass so that we go in the right direction in the water. And it looks like we're heading east. It is so fast. Can you see the two engines? They've lowered the propellers into the water. Woo! Where they're spinning around to push the lifeboat along quickly. They're noisy, aren't they? Wow! Simon's controlling the thermal imaging camera at the back of the boat to see if he can find Paul in the water. And this screen is showing us the picture from the camera.
The river is so big, it's really hard to look for Paul with my own eyes. But the thermal camera can see Paul's warm body.
Look, can you see that on the screen? I think I can see something. Looks like a white blob, doesn't it? There he is! We found Paul.
The crew are trained to lift people safely and quickly onto the boat.
Paul is safely on the boat with the help of special safety equipment. What did you love most about seeing how a lifeboat works?
Do you remember the name of the special camera the crew used to find Paul? That's right, it was a thermal imaging camera. Did you hear the sound that Lifeboat made when it sped through the water? And do you remember what colour Paul looked on the thermal imaging camera? That's right, it was white.
Safely. That's right, it was wrapped in this